All right, we're good.
Yes.
All right, for the next question.
Yes, miss.
All right, so let's see if I can exit this part alone. Yeah, that's the same thing. And let's say it's clear all my drawings. All right, so this is an old question. I hope you guys can see. This is from 2007, if I remember correctly. Now it says, using the letters S and T, label the structure on cell 2 only that performs each of the following functions. So the first function is convert light into chemical energy. What structure does that?
The chloroplast.
Chloroplast. So question, cell 1 is what kind of cell?
Animal cell.
Beautiful. And cell 2?
Plant cell.
Very, very good, very good. Awesomeness. So where would be the chloroplast? Can you see my pencil? You should be able to.
Would it be the white circles in cell 2?
Right, there we go. So this is our S. You can draw it. I'm trying. All right. And then the other one says allows a wide range of substances to pass through it. What structure is that?
Cell wall.
Cell membrane. You sure?
Cell wall.
Very good. And the cell wall is usually the first layer in the plant. So let me admit this person. So this is T. Then the other part says name the structure X.
Nucleus.
X is the
Nucleus.
all right. Structure X is absent from mature red blood cells and sieve tubes. So there's one process which these cells will not be able to perform. Give a reason for your answer.
It's mitosis.
Mitosis is a form of what?
Reproduction, asexual reproduction.
Cell division.
Cell division, that's what I'm looking for. So mitosis is a type of cell division. So that's a process that they will not be able to perform in. What's the reason?
Because there's no genetic information that will be split.
All right, let me see if I can move back these boxes. I see the boxes. 1, 2, 3. All right. Okay, cool. So there is no genetic material that will allow for it to occur. Anything else we can add to that?
Could we say that cell division occurs in the nucleus?
So once we don't have a nucleus, there is no cell division. That means that genetic material will not be passed on. Anything else? Or that's it? How many marks do they ask? How many marks? So 1 mark for the process and 1 mark for the reason. So we can say that genetic material is absent.
Is there not seen a reason?
How about no?
Have to scroll up.
All right, let me see if I can move the box. How about this? Is it showing on your end now?
Miss, we have no.
Yes, I'm seeing it now.
I'm hearing some yeses. I hear one no.
Excuse me, Miss.
Yes.
We have no, put no. So no cell division.
Thank you. See, I have extra eyes. You see what I can see or what I don't see. All right, so we're good. We're fine.
Yes, miss.
All right. Let me see if I can save this again as a
Miss,
PDF.
I have a
Yes,
question.
ma'am.
For B,
Sure. What's up?
for IID, where it says allow a wide range of substance to pass through, why would it be the cell wall and not this? I mean, cell membrane and not the, I mean, cell wall and not the cell membrane.
Remember that the cell membrane is selectively permeable, or some teachers may say that it is, what did I hear the students say? Semi-permeable. I think that's the term that some of you are used to. What it means is that only some things can pass through the cell membrane based on its structure. So because only some things can pass through it, not a wide range of substances will be able to go through.
Oh, so it's only the cell wall can facilitate a wide range of substance to pass through.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, miss.
All right, again.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Save this. So I'm gonna have to clear all my annotations. I realize that once I move forward.
Hola.
Sure. All right. Question. All right, here we go. Should change for you. So we're still looking at cells, and this question this year asks us to compare plant cell and an animal cell. So it says table 2 show the differences between plants and animal cells. And it wants us to identify which cell component is present or absent as we go along. All right, let's talk about the cell membranes present in animal cell and plant cell. What about the cell wall?
Present in plant cell but absent in animal.
Present option.
All right, so it's present here, but in here it is what?
Absent.
Absent.
Nice, nice, nice. All right. Nuclei. All right, so it's present in plant cell, present in animal cell. Mitochondrion or mitochondria, plural.
Present in both.
All right, it's both. So we have everybody seeing me writing all these beautiful stuff. All right, chloroplast.
Present.
So that's present in plant cell. What about animal cell?
Absent.
Right. Now it says state one function of each of the following organelles. What is the function of the mitochondrion?
Give the plant energy.
Facilitate the
It's
manufacture of energy in the cell.
1 minute. Somebody said that they're not seeing my screen. I'm gonna suggest that you exit and come back in. Anybody else not seeing my screen?
No.
So if that person exit, come back in. Let me give you a minute while other persons are trying to flesh out the functions of the mitochondria and the chloroplast. Let me go get some cool water because the time is. Give my person a minute to come back in. Yeah.
We caught them there in front. I go caught them now.
All right, I see that she's back. Okay, let's go. So it says state one function of each of the following organelles. What did you guys say the function of the mitochondrion was?
I said give the plant energy. That was for the mitochondria.
All right, so it releases energy because energy can neither be created or destroyed. So releases energy by what process?
Respiration. Respiration.
Creation.
Respiration. Which one of the respiration is a mitochondria?
Aerobic.
Aerobic.
Anaerobic.
Nice. Thank you. That's why you love me. Aerobic respiration. Let me see. Did I spell this right? I missed the O. All right. We have that down. So are we good? Is it correct?
Yes, miss.
All right. What about the chloroplast?
It transforms.
Contains chlorophyll needed.
It converts light energy into chemical energy for photosynthesis.
Not bad. Let's see if we can we mix them? Can we fix us up a bit? So it contains chlorophyll, yes, but that's not the function. I like the converts light energy into chemical
Energy
All
for
right, so
photosynthesis.
light energy. Thank you, sir.
Miss, can you scroll up on the screen?
I can't, because it's showing on my end, on my other device. I'm not sure to, unless I'm going to, give me a second.
I can see it fine, miss.
You can see fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, miss.
Miss, does it like
Okay.
it doesn't absorb the green by weight, right? Yes, miss. Okay, I was.
No, it doesn't.
Oh, okay. Thank you, miss.
No problem. All right, so we're good. Let's see this person that's gonna make this black stuff pop up on my screen. Are we good? Am I moving on? Are we writing? Are we taking it in? Let me know. How are we?
Miss, you can move on.
So they do I run
All right, I saved. All right, where am I going? The functions?
Yes, miss.
All right. Mitochondrion. It releases energy by the process of aerobic respiration. So you know that it's the powerhouse of the cell. How did it become the powerhouse? It releases energy. That's its main function. And in the chloroplast is the organelle in plant cells that absorbs light energy, converts into chemical energy. All right, good. Let me say that again. Clear all my drawings and we move forward. All right, guys, another person coming in. All right. So now we're heading into photosynthesis. Are we good with cells so far? We did the simple parts of
Yes,
cells.
miss.
So we're good so far.
Yes, miss.
All right. There's about 50 of y'all here, you know, so I should be hearing more voices resonating.
Yes.
Right. All right. All right. Let's see in this person. Okay. No, this question has two parts. Let's bring down this box here. No, it says describe the processes involved in photosynthesis, and it's 6 marks. Describe the processes involved in photosynthesis. What are we gonna write? What are we stating?
You not cancel.
Mr. First one.
When they have just one.
I'm not hearing you, sweetie. You're coming in and out for me. Name the
When
process.
they excess water under the influence, under the conditions of
Oh,
light
by
and
all,
heat.
you see that? Where is it?
First and
It
foremost,
says
where does this process
consequences
occur?
to a farmer. It is crop is affected by a
Photosynthesis
storage
occurs
of
in green
focus.
plants.
No pesticide and
Wait. We're all so what?
yeah, let me get
And this all
let me
Kathy, I see that your hand is up. What are you saying, sweetie? No? Nobody has an answer for this one. Let me admit this person.
Mr. You start with
Can we first let's state the chemical equation or the chemical
Question
equation
do all of them.
along with involving photosynthesis. What's the approach should we do?
The first thing is to talk about
Or take
where the process occurs. Where does the process occurs?
In green plants,
We're in the green plants. All right,
the leaves,
Shantavia. Which one? Oh, am I pronouncing it properly?
Shantavia, are we supposed to do all of them or just choose one?
We're doing the first question and we're stating where in the plant specifically does photosynthesis take place. So we're doing the entire
the
question together.
chloroplast.
A1 first. All right.
Oh, the chloroplast.
Beautiful. That's what I'm looking for. And it occurs in 2 stages. What are the 2 stages?
Light dependent and light independent.
And light independence.
Beautiful. All right, let's talk about light dependent first.
It is where the plant needs light in order to carry out certain parts of photosynthesis.
Yes, got this out. All right, what does it need light for? What does the light do? So we know that it needs light because it says dependent, so it's dependent on the light.
May see the light split the water molecule, the hydrogen and oxygen.
Split the water, the water bonds into hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen and oxygen, yeah.
Beautiful. All right, that's light dependent. Gas, the oxygen is lost by the process of diffusion. We know that, right?
It uses oxygen
I'm not sure of the specific processes. Uh, yeah. Yes.
All right.
It's like the white dependent stage with the um. Do we have to mention those electron transport chains and stuff and how the
No.
oh
Transport chains is cape level. At this
oh
stage, we're just talking about the light splitting the water molecules, giving you hydrogen ions, oxygen gas. That's it for light dependence.
okay, miss. Thank you.
No problem. All right. What happens in the light independent stage?
The breaking of the
Is whether or not light is present.
All right. So we know that even though light is present, it is not needed for this stage. So what happens here?
the hydrogen atoms produced from the light stage break down the carbon dioxide molecules to glucose.
Doesn't break it. I'm looking for something else.
Reduce it.
Combines.
Thank you. So the hydrogen ions from the light dependent stage reduces what?
Carbon dioxide.
Beautiful.
Miss, and this is from like CH2O, which is like G3P. Miss, you have to
No,
mention that as well.
no.
So that's being formed,
It will be C6H12O6.
which is what?
Glucose.
Okay.
But the dark stage requires enzymes to.
I'm here nodding my head like you can see me. Yes, yes, yes. Very good. Nice. Not too bad, I like uno. Very good. I mean, yes, very good, very good. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, very good. All right, so let me clear that. Are we good so far? Let me undo that. Are we good?
Yes,
No,
miss.
We're not? What happened?
Miss, I was writing.
Oh, I'm sorry. See if I can get it back. I can't get it back.
Miss, I'm seeing it.
You can see it properly?
Yes, miss.
Miss, I can't see it properly.
Go through. Sorry. How dare I? Go right through. Yes, that's
Let's meet baptize Mukaki.
Finish me.
Finish. All right, so let's tackle the next part. Let me clear all of this. Now, the second part says identify two characteristics of the leaf that make it an effective photosynthetic organ and state how each characteristic mentioned facilitates photosynthesis. All right, I'm all ears.
It is broad and thin. This allows for it to capture maximum sunlight and for carbon dioxide to diffuse through it easily.
What is broad and thin? What parts of the leaf?
The leaf,
The lamina.
The
Miss,
lamina is broad.
the waxy cuticle, does that count?
Ooh. All right, thin, allowing for the process of anything else? Oh, I shouldn't have made this bold. It looks ugly bold. Let's take it back off the board. Anything else? Come on, guys. There's so many adaptations.
Miss, like the cells at the top are like transparent, which allow the
What? So what layer is that?
so I forgot what it's called. It's like It's a forgot.
Epidermis.
The epidermis like causes it to it's transparent and allows the light to flow straight through to the chloroplast.
Miss the Palisade Mesophyll cells.
What about them?
Um, they would contain a lot of chloroplast, which would have a large number of chlorophyll, which is a requirement for photosynthesis.
I like that. Ooh. What else?
Miss and a
Miss the
large number.
petiole.
I heard petiole. How is this beneficial to the plant in the process of photosynthesis?
Miss it's set at a 90-degree angle to capture more sunlight, miss.
Miss says the number of chloroplasts also count. The number of stomata on the bottom because it
What's the
allows for.
So let me admit this person for maximum absorption of sunlight. So it's not even just the amount of them. In this case, we would mention the amount. We just mention the fact that they're present. So the stomata is present, which allows for what?
Absorption of carbon dioxide.
Absorption. I rather use the term gaseous exchange or the fusion of carbon dioxide.
Miss and oxygen as well.
It would allow carbon dioxide to diffuse in and oxygen to diffuse out.
Very good, very good, very good, very good. Any more that we can think of? All right. Anything else?
What? Missy, could you say the air spaces allow for the carbon dioxide to diffuse into all the cells easily?
This person. Airspace is allowed for what?
Carbon dioxide to diffuse into the cells.
Movement of gases in and out the cells. All right, we have more than enough here and could find probably a couple more, but we have more than enough. So let me wait for the persons who are writing and then we move to the other parts of the question. All right, ready for me now?
Yes, miss.
All right. Let me save this. And clear. No, the next one says, how is it possible for a plant to survive after losing all of its leaves?
It can possibly survive through its roots, I think.
Why? What's happening with its roots? What's so special about the roots?
It's the
I think
roots
that's
and
where
stem.
all the nutrients.
Miss, but like, wouldn't
Mm,
it not be able to do photosynthesis?
it won't. So what
Miss,
would it
it
have?
would have the stem and the roots as food reserves for unfavorable weather conditions.
Right? So this would, the stem and the roots would be sites of what? Looking for that S word that you need to be using.
Storage.
Storage?
Right. Good. So we have the storage of what's here.
Starch, Miss?
Good.
Water?
Starch.
No.
But at the starch, we guys are still seeing that on. Why doesn't it change for you guys? Are you guys still seeing the words from the last question?
Yes,
Yes,
miss.
miss.
Yes, Miss.
I don't know why it's doing that. All right, so let me clear and see if it's gonna. How about no?
It's still the same.
How about no?
Clear now, miss.
Beautiful. Oh, I got a bit worried, because I was wondering what's happening with us. But okay. All right, storage of starch in other places of the plant, such as the roots.
Can it also store water?
Yes, it can, and that depends on the condition that the plant is in. So, for example, what kind of conditions would allow a plant to store water?
If it's in the desert, I think.
In the
Beautiful.
Zion?
Dry conditions would allow a plant to store water. So what is happening here is that so once I press enter, it just the glucose that it produces from photosynthesis is transported as sucrose to other parts of the plant and converted. Guys, bear with me on the spelling and the typing, okay? That look wrong. No, that looks right. Good, better, best. All right, ready?
Miss,
Yes, ma'am.
miss, if it stores food in the seeds for like germination, miss, eventually wouldn't it be a fresh plant and then it would have more leaves?
One, but then it's a fresh plant. That means it's a completely different plant. Because remember, that seed has to leave that plant and go to a different area. And then the soil and the conditions have to be necessary for growth to occur.
Okay, miss.
Not bad though. I like your thinking. I like it. I like it. All right, ready for B? Are you ready for B, guys? Ladies and
Yes,
gents?
Miss.
Yes, miss.
Yes, miss.
Right. I'm realizing I'm only hearing the females talking. The males are just quiet, just here, letting the women take charge. No comments. All right, let's go. So let's clear all my drawings again. Now the other part says the phenomenon of swarming occasionally occurs in some insect species, such as locusts. Give me a second, guys. Give me a minute.
Miss Molasses, name.
How about no? Sorry about that, guys.
Now.
All right, so we're at you. Ready? Ready?
Yes, miss.
All right, it says explain two consequences to a farmer if this crop is attacked by a swarm of locusts. All right, my screen going that black thing again.
So the loss of crop repellent.
Go again. Sorry. Yeah, everybody's talking at once. Go again.
Spray with repellent. Well, I think it will work.
The loss of crops.
All right, so
Miss,
loss
the
of,
screen is gone again.
is it back?
Yes, miss.
All right, so loss of crops. Let's get back to.
So would he also like lose his, what do you call it, livestock, some of his livestock? So like
Go again. Will you lose what?
some of his livestock too, because like wouldn't they like, yeah, like wouldn't some of them die because they don't have enough food or something?
All right, but then he could be giving them something else to eat and not the crops that he's growing. So there's loss of crops and there is reduction of the yield, so we can explain it. So the loss of crops and reduction of crop yields kind of fall in line with this. They're not the same thing, but they kind of fall in the explanation. So when you're answering this question, if you do see this question or anything similar to it, you can make note of the fact that there's a reduction in amounts of crops that he's planting, which would mean that they're reducing photosynthesis, less plants being available for him to sell, and then economic region that he loses money. So loss of crops, reduction in crop yield or plant yield. All right, my screen went blank on my end. Let me see if it's same for this one. No. All right. Suggest why spraying with insecticide would be an ineffective method of controlling swarming locusts.
Because it would also create damage to the crop.
How so?
Maybe the chemicals in the
Toxins that are in the spray.
No. Go again.
They would kill other insects and not only the locust mist.
Good. So what insects are beneficial to plants? What are these insects called that are kind of beneficial to plants? Let's see which one you're gonna name.
Worms, mist, and bees.
And bees,
All right, bees will fall under what? What do bees do for plants? They're the what?
they help
Pollinators.
pollinate them.
They aid in dispersal of seeds.
You so they're pollinators, not bad. What else?
It could also
Earthworms.
Have you ever tried killing a fly? You ever like spray a fly? It's not the same thing, but the concept is similar. You ever try killing something? You just spray something to kill something that is flying. You have a fly and it's flying. Do you think spraying will kill it just like that?
No, mister, it will take time for it to die.
All right. So it's not effective because it doesn't really kill the swarming locusts. Remember, they're constantly flying. So if I'm spraying one,
We would have to locate the egg and spray that.
All right. Beautiful. There's some like I keep All right, so let me move the little black box that is at the bottom of the screen, carry it to the top. Let's go. And we are at the last question for this one. And it says, explain 2 methods that could be used in controlling insect pests. Someone mentioned it earlier.
Miss by finding where they originate from and then is destroy the nest or something like that.
All right, I like the predator prey, finding the, okay, let's see.
Pesticide.
Using greenhouses.
All right, so natural predator for the pests, not bad. Finding the larvae, not bad. I think I saw something else in the chats. Anything else? Somebody was saying something earlier.
Could you use a greenhouse?
Greenhouse, which this will reduce our insect issue.
Yes, it's like if you place up the plants in a
This
greenhouse.
would reduce contact with the plant.
Any other reason that we can come up with?
Crop rotation.
Using perforan heaters.
I heard crop rotation. Let my brain let that sink in. No, not necessarily for crop rotation, because we still have them coming around. All right, what's the next one? Something about heaters. No? All right, so I guess we have our answers. Remember, guys, when it says to explain, what are we doing here? We're just giving the pointers, but you are going to go into further detail by stating that a natural predator will be needed for the pests, which would decrease or cause a decrease in its population, it will want to eat more of it, so it will cause them to not be a pest to the plants. Finding the larvae, if we find the, all right, that thing popping up on my screen again. If we find the larvae and we kill the larvae from that stage, then we have a reduction in number of pests being raised or growing into adult form to actually trouble our crops. So you have to talk about these things, give more details to it. These are just pointers to help you place there. Okay?
Yes.
All right. Can I clear my screen?
Yes, miss.
Miss, for one I, where it says, how is it possible for plants to survive after losing all its leaves? Could you also mention, since plants release a hormone called auxins, which helps them to grow, that could also help plants to survive?
Repeat, let me hear with the oxygen again.
Since plants release hormones called auxins, would that help for plants to survive still after losing all its leaves?
No. Because remember, auxin is usually produced in the roots, at the back of the roots and the shoot tips. So the reduction in leaves have to do with the process of photosynthesis. Auxin have to do with the plant's response, for example, to light and other conditions.
Okay, miss.
The growth hormone, yes, but not participating fully in photosynthesis. Not bad with your thinking though. I like this. I think I missed something in the chat. All right, I'm clearing my screen and moving to the next question. Oh, what about the practice of using eggshells to reduce insects? Can be done. Haven't heard that statement in a while since high school. I never heard that one. But I haven't heard it since high school, so that's a very long time. I have to check that one out. It's been a while. Oh, genetically modified seeds, that can work too. Having genetically modified seeds, that can very much work. You can add it too. Oh. All right, so let us save this. All right, open chats.
Progress.
Give me a second, guys. Let's see if I can help you guys out from now. All right, so documents, Zoom. So going to my library, going to documents, going to Zoom. Today is the 4th. See if I can send you some of the stuff now, if it's allowing me to, but it's not allowing me to. It's not allowing me to send you guys right now. All right, guys, at the end, we'll see how we can battle this one. All right, so let's go again. I'm on I'm gonna get it to you guys. By the grace of God, I will get it to you guys. I'm not gonna leave y'all hanging like this. All right, so let's continue. Let me save this. Two persons waiting. Abigail and Tristan. All right, so let's go. All right, so it says using only a fully annotated diagram of the internal structure of a leaf, explain the role of the parts involved in photosynthesis, including your annotation. Each including each annotation, the name of the structure and its function. Can we actually get to draw this?
I don't think so.
All right, so what structures would we need to have? Let's see if I can.
Yes, the lower and upper dermis.
Right, so we're gonna have here. It represents what's above the upper epidermis.
The waxy
Waxy
cuticle.
cuticle.
Waxy
Let's call it.
cuticle.
You see, so we have the waxy cuticle, and then below it we have the upper epidermis. Look at us trying to make life work, guys. Let me admit this person. What comes after?
Mr. Palisade.
Palisade mesophyll and then the spongy mesophyll.
Right, so we have the Palisade mesophyll. Remember the Palisade mesophyll, they are basically rectangular structures right along the layer, and they contain a lot of what?
Chlorophyll.
Chloroplast.
Chloroplast.
That's very good. Remember, we're not just looking at the pigment itself, we're looking at the structure that contains the pigments. All right. So Palisade mesophyll, what comes beneath the Palisade mesophyll?
The spongy mesophyll.
Spongy mesophyll, which has a whole lot of what?
With some big circles.
With spaces between them is for gaseous exchange.
Very good. And what else can I find in this region?
Mr. Xylem and the phloem.
Very good. Let me see if I can change it.
Vein.
Guys, my art not going too bad, man. Not going too bad. What do you think? I don't know. I can't look at something. When I say it now work?
Please, can you repeat the last part you said, please?
I'm saying it's not going on badly. Is it going on badly?
Not necessarily.
Alright. What do I think?
Like the answer to the spongy mesophyll.
See if I can do a text box. Let me exit all of these stuff. More persons are coming in. Oh, you guys no longer see the black thing on my screen. That's pretty cool. So the topics, that is the broad topics: photosynthesis, cells, climate change, menstrual cycle. So we're now looking at photosynthesis. So we need to ensure that we're fine with photosynthesis before we can move on. Welcome. Hi, Haley. All right, so looking at the internal structure, let's see if we can write it down so everybody can be on the same part. So we have the upper epidermis. Then beneath the upper epidermis, we have the Palisade mesophyll. I missed the waxy cuticle. Palisade mesophyll. Then the spongy mesophyll. We're going to talk about what each of these parts do. Air spaces, we talked about that in a previous question. the vein, which consists of the xylem and the phloem. Anything else? What comes beneath this?
Guard cell, the stomatoms.
All right, so we have the lower epidermis, then which consists of our guard cells and the stomata. All right, so we know the upper epidermis is one cell thick and transparent, allowing for light to pass through it. Palestine Mesophyll has, oh, can we say of beautiful chloroplast? It's the main site of what?
Light
Light absorption and photosynthesis, photosynthetic reactions.
All right, spongy mesophyll has chloroplast also. Air spaces, which allows for gaseous exchange. All right, function of the xylem.
transport water.
All right, transport the water that's needed for photosynthesis. And phloem.
Which transport food substances.
To the rest of the plant.
All right. What form is the glucose converted to in the phloem to be transported?
Starch.
No, starch is too. Starch is beautiful.
Sucrose.
Very good. Transport sucrose. So other parts of the plant. All right. Guard cell. Function of the guard cell.
Regulate the opening and closing of the stomatomes.
Very good.
It's what's about the potassium, like the sodium things, like, so
right,
does it
so
control
the
like the amount of potassium?
That is correct, but I don't touch on that at this stage. Not at CSET level, so I don't touch on it. So when we talk about the sodium and the potassium, we're talking about ions or solutes that will move in and out of the guard cells that would allow it to become flaccid or turgid. So when the guard cells become flaccid, what happens to the stomata? Does it close or open? It closes, and when the guard cells become turgid, what happens?
Stomata forced opens.
Beautiful. So the stomata pores. All right, we're good. Have we mentioned a good amount of parts of the internal structure of the leaf that help with photosynthesis? Have we done good?
Yes, miss.
All right. Am I clearing?
Mr. Did save it?
I did. I realize I can't go back into it afterwards. All right, so it's clear all my drawings. Now it says write a balanced equation that effectively summarizes photosynthesis. That's on that drawing. All right, what am I writing?
6 CO2 plus 6 H2.
Carbon dioxide, CO2, plus water, plus Sorry, it was
yields
oxygen.
sunlight and chlorophyll, and then you get
Like, why don't you use the time thing?
C6H12O6.
It's
Right.
O2, the 6 moles of O2.
Arrow, light, and chlorophyll.
Dry utensil. 6H2O from the arrow. What goes above?
The sunlight.
Sunlight.
Presence of sunlight in chlorophyll is
Sunlight.
Right? And then beneath it would be the chlorophyll. One day, I'm gonna afford one of those stuff that I can write on my screen. Until then, we're battling this together.
Yeah, speak it into being.
Yes, yes. All right. And it gives us what? What are our products?
6O2.
C6H12.
glucose and water.
All right. So this is
Oxygen,
chemical
sorry.
to ensure the
H12.
H12 O what?
O6.
Beautiful. That's glucose. And
Plus 6O2.
yay! Nah, I'm all tree bad man. Are we good? Are we fine?
Yes, miss.
Yes, miss.
All right. So it says one effect of hurricanes is a complete removal of foliage, which is another term for the leaves, from trees. Many trees seem to readily survive the loss of all their leaves, even though they are the main photosynthetic organs. So we saw something similar to this earlier, didn't we?
Yes, miss.
Yes, miss.
Right.
Yes.
Make them go quiet. God, why go quiet? God, make them stop going quiet. Oof. Let me stretch my legs. 1 second.
Is it because of the stored starch? So they're like able to pretty much survive for a really long time because of the amount of starch they have in their roots.
Very good. Very good. One thing I want to point out, guys, the roots aren't the only site of storage, because even in some
Stems.
good and some cases the leaves themselves become a site of storage. Okay.
Yes, miss.
All right. Oh. All right. Let's see if we can. Gardeners sometimes remove leaves and branches from trees with the expectation of improving their yield. So that's why this is a good practice. Why is this a good practice?
Miss, because it would allow light to penetrate other parts of the plant.
Which is increase the process of so other parts of the plant get exposed to sunlight, increasing photosynthesis, allows for new growth to occur.
Miss, so like so how would transpiration occur in the plants if like the leaves are cut off? Because what would there be to drop the waterings?
All right. So remember that they're not removing all of the leaves, they're removing some of them. So this would decrease the rate of transpiration.
Miss, but in I no, I mean like miss in I. what would happen to the tree then?
Oh, they wouldn't have any leaves or transpiration. So what they
There
would
would
have,
be
there would be no transpiration happening here because they won't have any leaves. So they won't be losing any water. So what would happen is that the starch that is stored in the other parts of the plant, that starch would have to be broken down and then transported by the phloem to the different parts that need it. Once leaves aren't there, then transpiration cannot occur.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
No problem. All right, let me save this. Are we good? Are we fine? Guys, time is running ahead of us. We need to tell the time to slow down. We go on to 2 topics and there's about 3 more topics I want to go through before the time ends. All right, ready? Moving on.
Yes, miss.
All right, so let me save again and then clear all my drawings. Move forward. Let me exit this. All right, so we looked at something similar to this. So we know how to draw the leaf, a variegated leaf. Do we? All right, let's go. Some students carried out an investigation to find out whether chlorophyll is needed for photosynthesis. They took a potted plant with variegated leaf. Have you guys drawn that leaf? So one of the labs that we did, or one of them familiar with, is drawing a variegated leaf and using the testing the leaf for starch process to determine whether or not chlorophyll is needed. Have you done that lab? Are you guys familiar with that lab?
Miss, we
Yes,
didn't
miss.
use a variegated leaf.
Go again?
Not really.
At our school, we didn't use a variegated leaf.
All right. So a
Miss,
variegated
I'm
leaf.
not really associated with that lab. I'm not clear on that lab.
The lab was where you boiled a variegated leaf, which is a green leaf with some parts that are white. You
Very
boiled that leaf to kill the leaf, essentially, and then you would place it in ethanol, boiling ethanol, right?
Colorize it, yeah.
Yeah, and then you place it on, I think you would boil it again, put it in a bath of water again to take off the ethanol, and then place it on a tile, and then
White
place,
tile.
yeah, and place iodine on it.
Mhm.
If the leaf remains the color of the iodine, then there's no starch, but if there's starch, it should turn a blue-black color.
Very good. That's the process right there. Very good. Thank you. See, y'all are brilliant.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Very good. One of the things though I need for you guys to remember is that you use, all right, listen that person in. What is used to test for the presence of starch? What do we use? I just want you to remember that.
Iodine solution.
Iodine solution. So you know that once it's a positive test, the iodine has to change from a yellow brown color to blue black. So once it's a positive result, iodine changes to blue black. Once starch is present, blue black. Okay?
Yes, miss.
All right. What is the role of chlorophyll?
To absorb sunlight.
Beautiful. It's a pigment that absorbs sunlight. All right. Admitting this person. First here. All right.
Miss, where do you reach?
Okay. 1 minute again, guys. So this is another possible question for photosynthesis. So I want you guys to look at it. You would have done a lab similar to this also, yes?
No,
Yes,
miss.
yes.
No, miss.
All right. So this, all right. I don't want to tell you guys, I want you guys to reason it out. So let's go through this and then I can move to our growth question. Now it says, move in the black thing. The apparatus shown in figure 2 is set up to investigate the effect of light intensity on the rate of photosynthesis in an aquatic plant. Give me a minute. What is a possible hypothesis that you could write?
Miss, oxygen is a product of photosynthesis.
And
I mean,
you could say that um if I think the hypothesis is an if is a if then statement. So you could say if a glowing splint is relit, then oxygen is present, maybe.
Repeat.
If a glowing splint is relit when placed at the mouth of the test tube, then oxygen is present.
but it's saying that we're supposed to investigate the effect of light intensity. So,
You were just
so
about to
we could
see.
probably say that the more light, uh, the faster the rate of photosynthesis, and that would be we could see that due to the bubbles, which would be the oxygen gas being released.
All right, very good. So if light intensity increases, then the rate of photosynthesis will also increase. When exposed to greater intensity of light, photosynthesis will increase. If you are comfortable with if-then statements, then that's fine. If the light intensity increases, then the rate of photosynthesis will also increase. So please ensure that you read the questions carefully because it's right there. Investigate the effects of light intensity on the rate of photosynthesis in an aquatic plant. So sometimes the diagrams we're so familiar with what the process is about that we miss what they're asking us. Okay? So
Okay, so
possible hypothesis, if light intensity increases, then the rate of photosynthesis will also increase.
miss, the hypothesis would be when light intensity increases, the rate of photosynthesis will also increase.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right, we're good.
Yes, miss.
Yes.
All right, it's clear. Let's move on to the other part. Things like this. Now it says describe how the apparatus may be used to test the hypothesis. So they gave us a light source, measuring cylinder, beaker, inverted funnel, and water plants.
Miss, you would like bring the light over time, like over.
All right, let me write that down because you're on the right track.
Miss, and the
Certain.
amount of bubbles could be counted.
All right. So the distance, the
The
light,
light source. Yes,
very
miss. And
good.
then we'd like have certain intervals of time that you would hold it for, and you would measure, monitor the bubbles and the bubbles produced, and then you would like move it a little bit closer, or
Very good.
increase the
Very
intensity of the light, and then yeah, you would tabulate the results, graph them, see what happens.
We can count the amount of bubbles being produced, and you can also, oh, that's another thing. All right, not bad. What would be a suitable control for this experiment?
Make sure the light intensity is the same.
Type of plant uses.
Nope, not constant, control.
It's like control variable.
No, not control variable.
It's a
Move
water.
the light away from.
I will try to get into one-on-one, or I will get somebody to work with you guys.
Miss, could you explain that question, please?
Miss, I am spelled wrong.
You guys are, go again.
Miss, this spelled wrong.
Thank you. Where? Thank you. This is me typing fast, and I can't change it unless I cover it. See if I can cover it. Nope. Can't change it, can't cover it.
Miss, the distance.
No, that's a control variable. All right. So the control.
Miss, what was the hypothesis?
Thank you. Good day, Tashween. So your hypothesis was that if light intensity increases, so does the rate of photosynthesis. So a control would be setting up an identical experiment with no light any at all. Key term is control. Control is not a control variable. Control is an identical setup. So in this case, you're proving that the light source will cause the rate of photosynthesis to increase. The light does affect photosynthesis. So you're completely removing light to prove that your experiment needs light. Making sense? Have I lost anyone?
No, miss.
All right. Then it says identify the gas labeled X. What is the gas?
Oxygen.
Describe a common test to confirm the oxygen.
Sealed light or glowing splint.
Lime
Miss,
splint and see if it will out it.
light are going to means you out it and you put it
Three
directly over
lights.
the
Is
test
Alright.
tube to see.
Place a glowing splints at the mouth of the test tube, and if it relights,
Oxygen is present.
oxygen is present. Yeah.
Give some massage, I think.
Alright, are we good?
Oh, yeah.
Are we good? Are we good?
Yes.
Yes, miss.
All right. So let me save this.
Miss, can you explain the apparatus? The first one, describe how the apparatus may be used to
All right. So we are looking at the effects of light intensity on the rate of photosynthesis. So as we move the light source closer to the plant that is photosynthesizing, what do we expect to happen? The rate of
The rate of
photosynthesis.
photosynthesis to increase.
So it's going to, so what we're going to do, or what we're aiming to do, is to kind of manipulate the distance that the light source is from the plant, and then look at the rate of photosynthesis, which is how many bubbles is formed or produced as a photosynthesizing.
Okay, Miss.
Cool?
Go clear.
All right. Somebody's still getting screenshots. Sure. All right. I'm gonna stop sharing and share something else. All right. Let's see if I can do that. Go back into Zoom. Share growth. All right, you guys should be seeing my screen now.
Yes, miss.
But not so clearly. Can you zoom up?
How about now?
Yes.
All right, very good. Now we're looking at the table below, shows the changes in height of a corn plant over a 36-day period. Cool? So if they're giving us this graph, we're seeing times, days, and we're seeing height. What kind of graph are we being asked to create?
Bar graph?
No.
A line graph. It's a line graph.
Usually they will tell you what graph they want, but once you see a graph that talks about day and time and any time whatsoever, it's a line graph, okay?
Yes, miss.
Simplify our lives for us. What will go on the x-axis and what will go on the y-axis?
Time on the X, height on the
X. Beautiful. Please don't forget, I know it seems like I'm asking a simple question, but I know when you guys get into the exam, you become all flustered and simple things fly out of your minds. So I have to be asking. All right, so let's see if we can plot this. Can we plot this? All right, let's all right. See if I can take a somebody can write.
Miss, we're also supposed to include the title.
Yes. So whenever you get a graph, I know you're going to move with it. Clear all drawings. Whenever you get a graph, you're given a mark for title. So 1 mark for your title. 1 mark for the plotting of your points. And it's a line graph, sorry. So 1 mark for connecting the dots, so to speak. And ensuring that your axes are labeled.
And having a scale.
Miss have a scale.
Do you need a key though?
If they give you two types or 2 different data to plot, then yes, you need a key. In this case, for this example, you only got 1, which is the height of a plant, not more than 1 plant, a plant. So this is just 1 data or 1 data type, so you would need a key for this. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. See if I can. All right, so let's see if we can go through. Can I attempt to plot this? No. All right, 1 minute again, guys. I don't know where that went. Am I back up?
This is another page.
It's the same thing. Are you guys still able to see I'm back up, right?
Yes, miss.
Okay, saying no connection on my end. One minute again, guys. Nice. 1 minute. All right, guys, let's see if this will help you out a bit. Sharing again. All right, zoom in out a bit. How we stay? Seeing the graph?
Yes, miss.
All right. Now let's go to the first question. And it says, using information from the graph you constructed, estimate the height of the corn plant on day 5 and 13. Admits. What's the height on day 5? So we go from here, carry it up this way. 5. What do you think estimation is? And then they go quiet again. Guys, don't go quiet. Am I zooming in? Talk to me. All right, my
How much
energy level
does
is really
each
low, so
small?
you have to talk to me.
Miss, how much does each small box represent?
So here will be 25, so 25 divided by 4, that will be what? 12, 12.5, thereabouts. Ooh, my energy is low. Energy?
15.
Miss, how did you get 24?
Miss, it will be 10 around.
10.
Around 10. Sorry. Please, some of you guys are still seeing my screen.
No, miss.
All right. I think this is my device of saying, yeah, man, you can stop now. Give me a second again.
Miss, can we go through a paper one?
Paper one, a multiple choice paper right now. When you have a paper two tomorrow.
Exactly.
Miss, can we do a climate question?
All right, so a climate question would ask you, is more likely about the environment. All right, see if I can find a paper on that. Stop sharing.
About genetics question.
Everything done there.
There's a black thing.
All right, let me see if it will leave. All right, ready now? Is it gone? Partially, parts of it, not all of it. All right, let's zoom out and see how much it would affect us. Now, in this year, it says figure 4 illustrates the events that take place during the human menstrual cycle. Looks familiar?
Yes, miss.
All right. So what will hormone X be?
Estrogen.
Estrogen.
Beautiful. Hormone Y?
Progesterone.
Progesterone.
And what will be happening at Z?
The releasing of the egg.
Ovulation.
Releasing of the egg
Ovulation.
known as ovulation. All right. So not too bad. All right. Admitting. Sending you guys off in 4 minutes. What is the role of each hormone in the menstrual cycle? So that's X and Y. We established that X is estrogen, Y is progesterone. What is the function of estrogen? Using the diagram to help us.
Helps to develop the uterus lining, or help to grow the uterus lining.
Very good. And progesterone.
Helps to
Against
maintain the
the
uterus.
endometrium.
Very good. So the estrogen helps to build up the uterus lining while the progesterone helps to maintain it. Very nice. Now the other question says, name the organ that produces hormones X and Y.
X is the
Ovary,
ovary.
follicle, and Y is corpus luteum.
Which is found where? Where's the
And
corpus luteum found?
the ovary.
In the ovary. I tell you, don't let them fool you. Once you know your stuff, you just go right through.
So,
Miss,
Mr.
both
Both
of
of them
them
are
would be
ovary.
ovary.
Yes, both of them are ovary.
Mister doesn't like the progesterone like thicken the uterus wall and put nutrients and stuff for the child. It's gonna
It
come.
doesn't put nutrients in there.
Yeah, Miss. Like I heard it like puts stuff like that, like nutrients, whatever. Um. Yeah, Miss. Does it do that, Miss? Or thicken the
Right.
walls?
So it maintains it. Remember that all the nutrients and the vascularization, which means that the blood vessels that are formed would be there when once estrogen is being released. What the progesterone does is ensure that this wall that is produced does not, I don't like saying wall, the lining that is produced does not disintegrate, doesn't break down. So it doesn't really put anything in it. It just ensures that it doesn't break down any at all.
Thank you, Miss.
All right. It says discuss the fate of the following structures shown in figure 4 if fertilization of the ovum occurs. So if fertilization occurs, what happens to the corpus luteum?
Miss, the fertilized egg, Miss, it would produce hormones that would keep it so it would not disintegrate.
Miss, is it like the navel string, like for the baby?
No. So the corpus luteum is the follicle that expels the ovum.
But it
Where?
disintegrates.
Miss, doesn't the corpus luteum release progesterone?
Right. So once fertilization has taken place, right.
So
I'm
the
loving
sperm
this.
continues mixture because that it is used to hold the baby.
I feel like a proud parent, although I was the original bio teacher, but I feel the proudness in my heart. Okay, all right. So once fertilization has taken place, the corpus luteum continues to release progesterone so that the uterus lining doesn't break down. Okay? And the uterus lining, what happens during if fertilization has taken place?
It
Means since
thickens
more progesterone will be made, it will continue to thicken.
Still thickening and it attempt to prepare for pregnancy.
All right, beautiful. All right, good. Nice. Nice. All right, so this is the last thing I'm going to do with it. This question right here, C, is the last one, and I'm sending you guys off. Please revise as best as you can. Wow. Will I be up? I'm gonna put my email in the chat. You can send me an email if you have a question. See if we can go through together. Okay, and I'm gonna try my very best to try get the recording to you guys. Let's see. All right, so a drug company is developing male contraceptive pills suggest 3 ways in which this could prevent pregnancy.
Missy,
Wait, Mrs.
reduce
Skip
sperm
B.
count.
So it could lower the sperm counts, very much so.
Wait, Mrs. Skip B.
I did? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Some contraceptive pills contain hormones, suggest how this may prevent pregnancy.
Means the hormones will thicken the cervix so that the sperm cannot penetrate or dissolve to it.
Nice, nice. What else?
Prevent the egg from being implanted in the uterus.
Go again.
It would delay
Prevents
ovulation.
delay ovulation so that there is no chance of fertilization, or would even prevent implantation and cause the wall to break down, the uterus lining. I keep saying wall, bad habit. Cause the uterus lining to break down. All right, so we touched C. Any other suggestions for C?
Miss, it would prevent the sperm from swimming.
Go again.
It would prevent the sperm from swimming.
All right. How so? Oh, it would. Oh, I see what you're saying. So deformation, so the sperm that is being produced can be deformed. Anything else? One more and then we depart.
Miss, it could affect the acrosome.
So Miss, we have it lessens the sperm count. It deforms the sperm, and
Miss, you're muted.
Sorry about that, guys. All right, can I hear the last suggestion that was made?
Missy
All
would
right.
affect the acrosome.
How so?
Yes, I don't know.
See,
Miss, would it lower the testosterone levels?
so it affect the hormone? Yes, it would. It definitely would. And then we can talk about the other suggestions that were made. I was about to say observations. Yeah, man, I need to eat. The other suggestions that were made, so low the sperm count, sperm will be deformed, hormone will decrease. Anything along that line will help you out. All right, guys. I am shipping you out. Please, I see that Aisha placed the topics that the broad topics that Stacey said that you guys are going to be tested on. Go through as many questions. Do not stay up tonight. You need sleep. You need to relax. So as best as you can, after you finish doing your last set of go through with all those papers, please get some rest. Please get some rest. And I repeat, please get some rest. Okay? Yes, that's just
Yes,
for
miss.
paper too. All right, so I'm gonna stop sharing. I'm going to stop the recording. Yes, Manisha.